The spaceship realizes is flying to a planet littered with minerals, and all the personnel are still asleep in their capsules, because the destination is for years away. But all plans are ruined by an asteroid smashing through, and he wakes up immediately and turns on the video of the family and is interrupted by the onboard computer. It warns him that the ship has been severely damaged, which will cause Andy to be covered in a gel to create a suit, and along with the other of the lucky ship's crew will be released into space. Some of them were immediately destroyed by other asteroids. The oxygen supply in the capsule is limited, so the ID decides to drop the capsules to the nearest planet. Of the capsules can survive the descent and explodes. A little while later, the capsule touches the ground from the impact, and he passes out, and the images of his family flash before his eyes as he wakes up and tells him that he has a heart problem, and he looks around and sees nothing but a lifeless wasteland. Attempts to contact the other members. The capsule goes nowhere, begins to rest, and explains that the terrain is unstable. We're gonna have to get out of here. But when you try to open the door, nothing happens. What's worse is that capsule doesn't have a full survival kit. Since he's a low-ranking employee, all he has to do is break the glass with his feet and use whatever tools he has at hand. Objects. As he surveyed the area, the capsule staggered, causing damage to his suit. It seemed like death had come, but among the items was a gel that sealed the holes in the suits, and before Andy could catch his breath, the spirit as the engine ignites, he runs out of the capsule and sees a Rias falling on the planet. Rias, creating a huge explosion. The shockwave blows away, and a little while later, Andy asks where he is and realizes the ship isn't even halfway there, and now Andy's on an uncharted planet. Somehow he spots a light and decides to go there, and there's another part of the ship and a capsule from which someone has managed to get out of, although it didn't survive. The oxygen tank is also punctured, which is why Andy immediately leaves without ever noticing that the hull of the capsule has been left. In the hull of the capsule, in large cuts near the lights, he comes across a survivor named Dwayne, who had access to the navigational log from which he learned that the company wanted to save money on the flight and took a shorter but dangerous route. Asteroid-strewn, Dwayne had assembled equipment capable of sending an SOS signal. The problem is, the message will take 8 months to travel, which means it will take a very long time for them to arrive. Realizes that he'll probably never see his family again. Cheers him up by telling him that he has a plan. He's got a plan. His mood is cut short by some kind of a monster jumps out of the fog. Andy is once again alone again. He sends a message to the ground and raises Dwayne's weapon and notifies him that the oxygen is about to run out. Andy has to hurry to the wreckage of Os's barrel, where he can't find oxygen. On the way to the ship, he checks the radar in hopes of spotting other survivors, but the road is cut off by a steep slope, all because of the unstable in the uncharted terrain. And luckily some girl answered the radio. Her name is Naomi. She can't get out of her capsule, so she asks Andy to save her. Naomi drops off her geolocation and warns her that she's in an unstable area and it would be too dangerous. Andy's willing to take the risk. Naomi, she's the last survivor. Yeah, well, she might even have oxygen. Late at night there's a strange noise. Andy asks the aliens to scan the area, but Andy can't. It's the company's fault, who not only saved money on the flight, but also installed an old generation E. Because of the darkness and Andy's weak flashlight, he can barely see anything. It looked like something ran in front of him, but he blames it on his imagination, and right now, the monster is watching him right now. Andy sees strange holes. As he's walking through them, he stumbles into a huge hole covered with cobwebs. He panics and runs away. When something slips ahead of him, slips through, he realizes it's the monster. Turning off the lights, Andy gets a signal as several crew members moving towards him. But there's no one in the sky. A flash illuminating the monster appears. That's where the weapon tracker. Dwayne's weapon doesn't work. There's only one thing left to do. To run. The monster rushes after him, trying to punch his tail, but he doesn't, looking where he's going. Eventually, I fall down, but he survives. The monster refuses to calm down. Naomi warns him that his suit is leaking oxygen. Andy quickly finds the breach and uses the rest of the gel. To his surprise, he gets a radio call from Dwayne. Oh, he says he's drilling with a whole bunch of monsters. He needs his help. Andy refuses, but Naomi assumes that Dwayne will have oxygen tanks a little later. He comes upon a field covered in pods. The bright lights help find Dwayne. Yeah, Dwayne screams that monsters have weaknesses, but he's not allowed to speak, and Andy realizes there's more than one monster at work here. There's more than one monster at work here. The idea of activating the eye in a capsule. The noise causes the monsters to rush in, and Andy manages to hide. He takes advantage of the moment, tries to escape. The monster spots the desert and rushes after him, but when he runs into the fog, for some reason they stop for some reason as they make their way deeper into the area. Fireflies appear in front of him as they turn. Color is red. They go into attack. It's worse when the ground beneath his feet becomes liquid. Andy is caught by a monster and tries to eat him. He says Andy that he's having a heart attack, which causes him to hit him with a stun gun. The shock was so strong, the monster immediately spits it out. Andy jumps into the tunnel that the fireflies used as their lair. They didn't like the guest and only started to attack him only when Andy got to the surface. They started and told him that there's not enough oxygen to reach Naomi, but enough to reach the remains of the ship. Andy decides to save. Naomi is getting harder by the minute to breathe, but he finds Naomi anyway and pumps up the oxygen. Turns out her leg is stuck. Naomi's rank is high, and there were some useful items to help save the girl. Everything they need. The couple makes their way to the surface where the monsters are waiting for them. They run headlong to the ACS barrel, which to their surprise is still more or less intact. The monsters trap them in the wreckage of the ship. Naomi fires off missiles and realizes that the monster is running after her, distracting the other monsters. The couple run into the ship at the very last. They close the door to hollow out. The creature still has power, which means backup power. It's working. The supply crates are also still intact, destroyed, which greatly increases the chances of survival. The main problem is that the control panel pukes into the room but doesn't notice the people and walks away. Next thing they know, they turn their backs. They see the monster has spotted them, and the pair escape into the airlock. The next door doesn't open and they lose all hope of being rescued. Andy shows a video of his family. Turns out they were killed in a car accident. Only he survived. He's the only one who survived. They're preparing to die, but An notices that Andy's suit is filled with fireflies when the monster breaks through the door. Naomi throws fireflies at him, and while the monster tries to throw them off, they run away, but he finds them again in the cargo hold. Andy throws a can of gel spray at him, so the monster learns what a persimmon is, but that doesn't stop him from trying to eliminate the guests with his legs. Naomi laughs to get the monster away by asking Andy to find a working capsule and turn off the lights, waiting for them to. Running underneath him, Andy drops the capsule right on top of Naomi's monster. Thinks Andy's dead, but Andy starts to show signs of life, and the couple goes to the window and enjoys the sunrise. But that's the end of the movie. We'd love to have your likes. Bye.